Hey, everybody, it is me, Mike Vanderpool. I am here today with Eric Ward in the Trenches podcast, where we talk about all kinds of cool things, learning, workplace, workforce development, creative problem solving. And we're here today with Evan Painter from Land Moto. Evan was kind enough to allow Ward and I to go for a test ride on some of these cool bikes that they've got going on. So we will talk to Evan about the bike, about how they creative problem solve, and all the cool things that are happening inside of Land Moto today, and what they've got planned, at least as much as they will tell us. So, Eric Ward, good to see you again. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mike? Welcome, Evan. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I cannot complain. It's a beautiful day in Northwest Ohio. You two are in Northeast Ohio, correct?
It's beautiful. It's going to be hot.
Also beautiful here. Yep.
Great day for a bike ride.
There you go.
We should have went back for another bike ride. So I met Evan at the Ohio X Tech Summit, which was at John Carroll University. What was that, Evan? About a month ago.
Yeah, about.
Yep. You and your team had the bikes in the middle of the assembly hall, which was kind of cool, right? I got on it and I was like, wow, I have to check this thing out. I called up Eric Ward, said, Eric, I know you ride motorcycles. I'm scared to go by myself. I need somebody to come with me. You were kind enough to bring me a helmet and some gloves. We met at Evan, your production facility, in what part of Cleveland? Because I'm not that great with the logistics.
So we're in Gordon Square right now. It's about 2 miles outside of downtown. So we're really close to the meat of the city.
Right on. So we met there 2 weeks ago. Evan, great. You gave us a great tour, kind of fill us in on what you have going on. And where your location is awesome, because we took a test drive and it was hills, bike path, water view, a little bit of downtown riding. It was really, really cool. But before we get into all of that good stuff, Evan, do you mind telling us just a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with this cool stuff going on at Land Moto?
Yeah. So I'm a design here at Land. I've been here from the beginning. Really where my interest comes from is pairing sustainability with passion. And my lifelong passion is riding. It's kind of like this meditative thing where everyone has their own thing. It's an escape. And pairing something that like sustainability and electrification and something that's very progressive and that could really change things with something that means a lot to me personally is a very strong combination. So started in college with that, and really just never stopped pushing for the idea. And I ended up walking in the door here one day and met Scott, and the rest is history in the making, I guess. Not history, but in the making.
And who is Scott?
So Scott is the founder and CEO of Land. He had a gas motorcycle business for about 12 years. So a lot of learnings from him about actually how to manufacture and, it's easy to draw something or talk about something that you think would work, but bringing it into reality requires a lot of experience and knowledge that not a lot of people have. I certainly didn't have it. So it's been great to learn from him and, partnering and getting our ideas married together and forming something completely new.
Cool. So we'll talk about all the kind of nitty-gritty details of what you've got going on at Land, but the best part for me was the ride. So I have zero experience. Well, my only experience riding a motorized scooter was almost killing myself. Ward, you've been riding motorcycles forever.
I've been riding since I was 18, so I've been riding for a very long time and have ridden a variety of motorcycles. I started off with a moped like everybody, and then I've had Harleys and Suzukis, Hondas, you name it. So been riding for a long time.
And Evan, you've got a whole bunch of experience riding traditional motorcycles as well, correct?
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been riding most of my life. I mean, since I was maybe like 10 years old.
Oh, wow. Nice.
From like the days of like my dad like throwing me on like a sketchy three-wheeler. It's
sketchy three-wheelers.
And that's the thing though. See, I didn't grow up around that stuff. Like my dad wasn't into it, grandparents, even cousins and everything. Like I wasn't like a Cleveland or a Toledo city boy, but I was Monroe, Michigan, still kind of
Yeah.
cityfied, and never had that experience. So I know that listening to you two talk about motorcycles and bikes when you were touring, like give us a tour of the facility, I'm like, yeah, okay, guys. I was just pretending to know what you were talking about. But what was really cool is once we got on the bikes and started riding, it didn't take me long to get comfortable.
Yeah.
And almost immediately, I felt like I was on the same level field with you guys and able to ride and participate at the level that you guys were.
Yep.
Even though I'd only probably ridden motorized bicycles, maybe, or motorized kind of two-wheel devices for maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes my entire lifetime.
Yeah.
Before that day, I rode more on that day than I had probably the whole rest of my entire lifetime.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
And part of that, though, Evan, you were kind of like, we slow rolled it, the way you explained everything, the way you described the bike. Like, I knew what was going on. And what was really cool about the bike is how we were able to see everything. But for me, hopping on in ride mode 1, and maybe we should talk about those ride modes.
Yeah.
It was very easy for me to move up the progression of what this vehicle is able to do. So can you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah. So the bike that you guys rode the district is, it's a really an urban type of commuting vehicle, or, it's light enough that could be a recreation. You could take it with you when you go camping or, whatever you're doing. But the beauty of the bike and the beauty of how we started Land is getting people into the experience. We really wanted people to access that experience, whether you're like you have a lot of riding experience or if you're a completely noob. But so a lot of work went into making the bike actually do what we were able to do with you, Mike. That's from geometry, how it's made, the visual cues, so it's not intimidating, how the seats designed so you have a comfortable foundation. But we also do it through software with the ride modes. So the ride modes, we have 4. Ride mode 1 is by law an e-bike. So working on cutting down those barrier to entry for people to actually access that experience. You don't need a motorcycle license. You don't need insurance or registration to actually operate the vehicle. Normally when we talk to people, I'm interested in getting a motorcycle, but the process is completely foreign to them. It's intimidating and confusing, and it's a huge turnoff. So, when we're designing the bike, it's like, how many things can we remove from that bucket that inhibit someone to really make it an easy thing to try. But as you grow through the ride modes, the next one is ride mode 2, and it's a moped. So it falls under moped law. So it's just like a written test, but it's about 3 times as fast. It goes 37 miles per hour. And then when you're comfortable with that, it grows with you again. And now you're into ride mode 3, and it's a motorcycle. And, that's a full blown motorcycle that will go 70 miles per hour. You could use it just like any other motorcycle, but, spanning that gap and doing it seamlessly was something we spent a lot of time on, from the mechanical components to the software components to even like the noises that you guys were hearing. It's all part of that experience.
Well, Evan, one of the things that, we had talked about that day too, right? One of the things that's really nice about easing people into it, right? From maybe their only experience is a bicycle.
Yeah.
The only thing that changes, right, with, in ride mode 1 and 2 is that you're replacing your pedals and you're turning your wrist, right? Everything else, there's 2 brakes, everything else is the same. It really reduces that cognitive load because, you and I, right, we've been riding motorcycles for our whole lives. So the clutch, the shifting, the front brake, the rear brake, I mean, you have like 4 different inputs going, right? Your left and right hand, both your feet, and there's a lot going on that you have, and then you still have to balance and steer and not run into things, right? So this, just having a twist of your wrist and having that, very predictable, when I'm in e-bike mode, I know exactly what I'm getting. When I'm in motorcycle mode, I know exactly what I'm getting. Mm-hmm. But it's super cool. And Mike, I think that probably helped you a lot as well, right? And there's just
100%. And that's why I crashed the scooter the first time I was on it, right? Because I was throttling while holding, like there's just too much to even turn. And plus, what was interesting, every time I've ridden a scooter or a moped or something like that in the past, like when you take off, it's almost like got that little bit of waviness to find your equilibrium. This bike was solid, dude. From like the minute I hit the throttle, it felt like it was auto balancing, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know if
Well,
that's
it's
part of
more
the
like a
designer.
bike. Like scooters are weird because they're step through, right? They're
Yeah.
not like a bicycle. And so you get that little kind of head shake on it or whatever. But this,
Yeah.
it rides just like a bike or just like a motorcycle or just like a moped, which is super familiar.
Well, and that's kind of the question I have for you, Ward. You know, as somebody who's ridden motorcycles for 100 years, what what was the experience like for you as somebody who's used to a big rumbly?
I love it.
Harley.
Right. So I rode my Harley up there. Right. So I have a big rumbly, internal combustion engine motorcycle that I love. And I have to tell you, I haven't had as much fun on a motorcycle for a long time when we were riding. I mean, the thing about an electric, motorcycle, when you put it in that motorcycle mode, it's instant torque. It's super sporty. It's just a blast. The brakes are great. I mean, everything on it from a motorcycle standpoint is super cool and a lot of fun. But then the flip side is when we were just kind of cruising in traffic or whatever, and when we kind of went down by the lakeshore, we're instantly in bike mode, right? And we're just relaxing. We're going nice and slow, and you can go from one to the other in 2 seconds, which is really, really awesome. I mean, I had a great time. That's the most fun I've had on a bike in a long time.
And I think too, like for a noob going on the street, you're riding something different. You want to have more of your senses and awareness of what's going on around you. And the fact that it is as quiet as it is, and we could talk to each other, like there was just a comfort level there that, I mean, truthfully, it took me about 5 minutes to feel comfortable in ride mode 1. Quickly was in ride mode 2, and I was still lagging behind you guys because I was still, playing catch up, literally and figuratively. But once I was in ride mode 3 and you guys went on the street, I've never taken a bike on the street like that before, ever. And I felt 1000% comfortable. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. So Evan, how long has Land been around, and what is the vision for what Land is trying to do in this space of mobile energy vehicle? I'm not even sure exactly how you define Land. So help us define the now and then.
Yeah. So Land's been kind of in existence for, at least in an idea way, about 4 years now. But we're incorporated company for about 2 years. So depending on how you want to frame it, 2 to 4 years. But so we started, wanting to explore electric motorcycles, and the deeper we got, the more we realized that the value wasn't necessarily just in the vehicle, but it was in the platform and how it was used, and the type of things that we were designing for it. In particular, the battery, it started to become a really big focus early on. One thing led to another, and we're designing our own batteries in house, and we're like, okay, these batteries work very well for urban transit, but imagine if you have this energy for your life. And light bulbs everywhere started click for us, right? It's like, okay, like this avenue, like there's a lot of applications outside a vehicle if you have that energy with you all the time. Mm-hmm. So we started focusing a lot on that, and really where we're at now, where we see Land, is a platform that gives you access to energy, whether that's energy for mobility, energy for home backup, energy for commercial. It's the ability to have it with you and have it be capable for a very robust amount of activities in your life. And that's really where we're going. We're right on the precipice of that becoming more of a consumer facing idea of having this energy with you. I think it's a couple of years ago, it was a little too early for it, but I think right place, right time for us. I think we kind of saw that right when we needed to. So a lot of what we're focusing on right now is being able to take our batteries, which are kind of dumb, just power packs right now that you could access if you have the the means, but really developing that that hardware inside and the software to make it way more useful beyond just the vehicle.
So I think, yeah, what you're really talking about is kind of, even though we live in this world where some people want to be off grid or whatever else, we all still connected to these stupid things
Always
way
connected.
too much, right? Yeah, and what this vehicle and this energy transportation device, it might be a better way to describe it, right, allows us to do is have more freedom to still be connected. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but maybe a little bit of oxymoron there. But the reality of what we are is we're connected species, and that's not going away.
Right. Well, and and again, it's mobility of a different kind, right? It's great. If you have that energy, there's so many more places that you can go off grid, but still be on grid, right? So you can still be in contact, you can still work remote, but now working remote could have a whole different, connotation to it, which is really, really cool. Cause there's a lot of places where if you want to go camping or RVing or whatever, they don't have any hookups, they don't have any electricity, but you could still get out there and you could still explore and, be connected back home, which is really cool. That's very exciting.
It's interesting. I live like 5 minutes from like a bike path and a little place to go chill, right? But my bike, unless I couldn't go there and work long term without relying on the computer battery. Whenever that died, it'd have to be done. Even if I was here now or lived farther away, I could hop on this bike, go to a chill place, work for a day, and not have to worry about not having access to power.
Yeah. I mean, like, imagine that same ride that we did when you guys came and visited, but instead of coming back home, we just posted up at the park and we did this there, right?
Yeah.
At the center of all of us was battery with everything plugged into it. We had everything we needed. And then at the end of it, you put it back on the bike and you had a little bit more fun. So it's
right on.
It's a beautiful idea. And it's something that we really connect with. It's just being able, we live it. It's just like anything we do. We're passionate about bikes. We're passionate about, that camping, or just like being able to have that freedom whenever you need it.
Right on. And it sounds like, the bike itself, I know you're doing some cool stuff with like the drivetrain and other parts of it, but it feels like where your most work and innovation is going to be into really that what that battery becomes. Is that a fair statement?
Yep, for sure.
Right on.
Very cool.
Well, so what does the future look like for you guys?
Yeah, we have a couple of futures right now. We have kind of immediate, intermediate, and then long term, but all are in progress, which is great. So right now behind me is our production facility. We're testing out a lot of production methods and processes right now to get a good foundation. So when we take these growth periods, we have some learnings that we could kind of fall back on and okay, like that worked for this situation. Like, do we think it's going to scale, right? Like, so we're testing a lot of the processes and trying to get our heads and our thoughts in the kind of corralled to make sure we could hit these milestones of ours. So right now we're doing a lot of pilot production runs, getting the systems in place. On the other side of my camera, we're renovating, I think it's roughly about 14,000 square feet of manufacturing space, which is awesome. That was something that Scott's been dreaming of for a while. We have that huge space over there that's been relatively unusable, pretty capital constrained, but we have everything in place. We're renovating it at the moment. Hopefully concrete gets poured next week and we can start getting some stuff in there, which is super exciting. And then the big news last week is we actually got a grant from the federal government, a brownfield grant to
oh, nice.
So yeah, that was we were pretty happy to get it. We thought we had a pretty good chance, but actually saying like, getting someone to say, yes, you have this to do something special and breathe life back into some manufacturing in Cleveland. So it was the old I think Cleveland Electric Company. And then it was a plating company on the east side. So East 65th in Midtown. we're buying a building and we're going to be renovating it, and that's about 42,000 square feet.
Wow.
We have a couple lots, so like we're gonna have an experience center. We're gonna be at this destination workplace, so hopefully talent doesn't leave Cleveland anymore and they stay here and become part of something special that's gonna breathe life back into the city.
That is cool. Awesome.
Yeah, there's this big, huge, right, like placemaking initiative that everybody's got going on, and I keep arguing you got to have cool stuff in the place. You can't just have a place, right? So,
Yeah.
so even like I'm thinking, if I were to do like this tech and innovations center space thing over here in Northwest Ohio, having this bike out front would be a really cool way to draw some eyes into what's going on, right?
Bikes are sexy.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. I mean, and these are cool, right? I think wasn't it on the ride? Some kid said something to one of you guys, like as we drove by on the bike. What was that?
Yeah, no, it was so those interactions happen all the time. It's great. It's like, besides like getting someone new on one of our bikes for the first time, interacting with people outside of the riding experience is probably my second favorite thing. So we were riding past, we're about to go down to the bike path, and there was a young kid, I think he was probably like 8 or something, on his bike with his parents. And he was like, nice bike. And we turned, I was like, oh, like that's a nice bike too.
Yeah. Well, it gets back to that that you meet the nicest people on a Honda, right? Back in the 60s, that Honda just sold so many bikes because it's for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not for outlaw bikers, it's not for motorcycle racers, it's for everybody. And that's totally true about this.
Yeah.
Well, and I was at the beach. You can see my tan, my George Hamilton going on here. I was at the beach last week, and I wish I'd have had one of these bikes, dude. Because like,
yeah, you would have loved it.
Yeah, like Daytona, whatever county that is, they allow vehicles on the beach. Well, even as an e-bike, I probably would have been all right. But man, oh man, just a really, really, really cool bike. I keep going back to the experience because that was pretty awesome. But so with everything you've got going on, tell us about like the team and the challenges and the creative problem solving. That's, Ward and I have a passion. We've been teaching people about technology for decades, and innovation design is something I'm passionate about. Obviously, you guys have some entrepreneurial stuff going on, manufacturing stuff going on. There's lots of moving parts in here, lots of different ways of thinking about things, lots of stakeholders in the equation. How are you guys formed as a team and functioning as a team of creative problem solvers?
We're all here for our own reasons, and we all kind of found this when we needed it. It's a very unique way of coming together, which is an aspect of just how I guess the company draws in that type of person. But I mean, even going back to when I was in college trying to make an electric bike, and not knowing anything, reading books, just trying to like wire together, solder together batteries to make a battery, because I had no interest in just like drawing something. I wanted to make it. And everyone was like, we can't help you. You have to figure it out. Well, I didn't. And I almost didn't pass college, but they let me graduate, which was nice. But yeah, like even just like getting to a point where, Scott and I started working together, and I learned a lot from him. And you kind of get that balance of experience and vision. And I think that's really important for problem solving, is having kind of checks and balances, and the ability to rely on people where you fall off, and having the I guess we talk about not having egos here a lot, because it's important that just because someone says something is not challenged, it's important that the best idea and the right idea comes to the front. And that only happens if everyone trusts each other, if everyone has that same mindset when they go into solving a problem. Like yesterday, well, not yesterday, so last week we were actually working on this making the brake line routing a little bit more secure. So it's me, Scott, and Vince working on it, and I'm kind of coming in and out talking. and like Scott will come in and blow everything up, and then we go back and like we're like,
As
okay,
every good owner should.
yeah, it's like, but it's good because like, it's, you have like the like the person coming in with the idea of how it needs to be, and then people in the weeds, doing the little details, and then somewhere in the middle you're gonna find that. And yeah, it's like it happens every week, and it's always like the biggest deal then, and you're like, but you work through it, and you have
that communication and collaboration though allows the best ideas to win, because they're challenged, right? Not confrontational challenge, but just okay,
they're like
really
they're like pressure tested, right? So you got to take it to its logical conclusion. And I know, when we had talked, offline a little bit, right? There's, and Mike and I talk about this all the time too. There's kind of like scientific research creativity, and then there's engineering creativity. And a lot of your greatest creativity comes when you start to put some hard boundaries on things, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, well, that's a great idea, but it can't cost more than this, and it has to fit in this box.
Yeah.
So you have to get really creative to do that. And that's good, right? And I think that's like you're saying, you have different parts of the team that come in, and Scott can come in and say, well, that's too expensive. That's not going to work. So go back to the drawing board. Yeah. And, in my career as a software engineer, those were always the best teams that I was on as well, where we could go grab a whiteboard and we would have some knockdown, drag out discussions about things. Right. And get to the best idea. And then we go have a beer. Right. Yeah. And it was because we left our egos at the door. It wasn't about who was right or wrong. It was about the idea, right? We all were about the idea, that's super cool. Those are the best teams that I've ever been.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, so we just hired a bunch of new people, and so they're getting to experience these interactions firsthand, right? And so like,
are they drawing sides and like brandishing, like looking for shields?
Not yet, at least. Or at least I can't talk about the sides.
Fair.
No, but like it's funny because you guys got to meet Henry, and so he's engineering, so design and engineering. It could be a good marriage, but sometimes there's heated things that happen too, because very different perspectives. Mm-hmm. But one day we're talking about how we were going to be using the batteries long term, and we're like, I'm not like yelling at each other, but it's a very fiery and passionate conversation. And then like everyone's just like looking at us, and like all right, like whatever, like let's go, and like and then it's completely back to normal. But it's like it was like an intense conversation. But
I think it's important for teams of creative problem solvers to be able to separate the work and the idea from the person, right?
Yeah.
You are not your idea, and me attacking your idea is not me attacking you as a person. I think that's where, when you say, remove the egos, you have to have enough of an ego to think that your idea is worth even bringing up, but then be able to understand, like, we're not here to destroy your idea. We're here, again, the focus, even if we wrote it on a whiteboard, right? The best ideas win. Like that would be a nice little mantra to have as everybody's top of mind when you start talking about potentially contentious problems.
Right? We're always there to make it better. Right.
Yeah. And we're all working toward the same goal. It's,
just everybody's working toward the same thing and wants the best thing. And so you want to preemptively poke holes in things so you don't find that out later, right? Which is much worse.
So this is interesting, because these people that you've hired, that's before the first conversation we had. So like, what now? Like, when you're a small group, you can be ragtag and kind of just go with the flow and everything else. But now, are you working to maybe define some of how the work gets done and track the work a little bit more than you might have before?
Or even capture kind of what's folklore, right? Because there's stuff in probably your head and Henry's head and Scott's head that these new people don't know, right? You guys you've lived it for 4 years, and these people don't know that. So how are you doing that knowledge transfer?
Me being I guess as young as and inexperienced as I am, I think that was the biggest shock to me, was when it's 4 or 5 people that work very intimately together and do everything together, a lot of that just comes second nature, right? It's ingrained in everything you do. But right when you grow your staff by 30%, well, that's a lot of people get to catch up,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yep.
I didn't realize, I was like, okay, like, it's gonna be great. We're gonna teach, we're gonna teach the guys all the stuff. But like, I didn't realize how much we had to teach and like how specific and how, like detailed you have to get with it is like you were saying, it's just part of it until you really have to explain it. That I think that was the biggest shock that really made us start implementing a lot of these processes, a lot more like project management and like communication. Just so there was so much that was going on that we had to put up some boundaries, like, okay, we're going to use this app, we're going to use it this way, and this is how we're going to catalog it. Because if not, it's just a conversation, and we're all running around with our heads cut off anyways, and you're going to forget about it.
It's funny, you hire people to speed up, but you actually have to start by slowing down. Yeah.
But
yes. Yeah, I mean, because I went through the same thing with where I'm at with stage 3 with the curriculum building. It was, okay, the 3 of us, we're talking, we're just doing stuff, making it happen. It's getting done. Great. As the team grew, we had to come up with templates and checks and balances and review things. And now we're using like the Scrum methodology, agile methodology, right? For our daily stand-ups and everything else like that. I mean, what's cool is there's a lot of these different systems out there. Lean manufacturing is probably one you guys subscribe to at least a little bit. There's lots of these systems that are out there, which you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel to make some of this teamwork happen. You just have to find the one that is closest to what you want and then tweak it for your needs.
Yep.
Vanderpool, I'm the same thing. I'm working with an electrical contractor right now. They've been around for 106 years.
Wow.
And they started out as a mom and pop shop. And, project management used to be like, get your foreman, hey, spend it like it's yours. We trust you. But now we're doing like, $10 million Amazon buildings. That doesn't work so well. And so how do you, put in those processes and that kind of thing to make sure that, you can run a job with 150 guys on it. Right. So we're going through the exact same growth, kind of growing pains as well.
Yeah, I think too, like, and going back to our team and kind of the mindset is, it's not just us that have that mindset or that perspective right now. It really is the entire team. So like when we go to do something, it's not us questioning why we're doing it, but like everyone is, or like they'll be doing something like, oh, like we need to start standardizing this and making a process for it. So everyone has that foresight right now to really try to take that next step. And I think that's a huge part of it too, is, if we would have hired other people, we wouldn't have had that type of thoughtfulness. I think that's going to be really beneficial to us when we take the next step. Just, having someone that is equally as excited and aware of what's possible and where we need to get to, and, start thinking about what it's going to take to get there. It's everyone. It's not just 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's a culture, right? You got to build the culture. You got to have everybody buy into that.
Yep.
And what's, I was out driving around, doing some things, and as the rest of us, you probably see help wanted signs everywhere, right? What kind of talent needs do you all see yourselves having in the future, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of needs. It's going to be a lot of tech and a lot of manufacturing. I think those are the 2 big buckets. But really we're looking for, really we want to develop this software suite and this ecosystem that can be paired with our hardware. Hardware is easy for us. We've all been making stuff for a long time. But the software and finding that talent and retaining it, I think that's going to be the big focus and where we need to really shore that up.
What's cool too, when you gave us the tour of the bike, you actually have some type of connectivity that is monitoring.
We do, yeah.
You're collecting a boat ton of data, right?
Yeah. So all of our bikes are actually connected from the beginning. So it was something that we were unsure that we would be able to do, but we were able to implement it. Just so every bike that we make is connected. We can do over-the-air updates. We're working on some predictive maintenance stuff with EY. So
Oh, nice.
understanding how the vehicles are reacting, how people are using the vehicles, and on the back end, knowing what we need to stock as a company, so we don't have just inventory floating, and being able to communicate that to a consumer and be like, hey, this is going to happen in so much time, like be aware, maybe be proactive about it.
Right.
And it's like those little points that are going to make us successful, I think, beyond just what's kind of standard for the industry.
And what's really cool, with your battery technology, and you're going to be taking those batteries are going to be existing in a whole bunch of various conditions. Like,
Yeah.
if we're trying to understand how environmental impacts on battery life, like you guys could have a whole lot of information there that could help build better batteries.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, so Henry was part of this battery discussion a couple months ago, and we go back to it all the time, because I think it was one of those aha moments. Is everyone talks about batteries and recycling and what they can be used for, but if there's nothing collecting data on how the battery was used, it's impossible to give it a second home. You have to know its life to be able to give it an appropriate home.
Right.
And I think that's where we started to see a lot of value in not just having connected bikes, but having connected batteries and being able to truly be sustainable and proactive about how we are doing our battery manufacturing and rehoming them.
Right. How, the battery and the temperature conditions,
crashes.
Yeah, the load and variable loads. I mean, it's just, there's all kinds of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, this, just like a lot of industries, this is a data company as much as anything else, right? Software and data.
It is.
You guys are just a software company that sells bikes, right? And batteries.
Yeah. The motorcycles make the battery sexy. So it's like, it's like
right.
Yeah.
And everything is better with motorcycles. So
you're not wrong.
I mean, I don't know, we'll put the picture up of me on the bike. It made me look cool. So this bike can do it for anybody. Yep. Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the space that you're in and the space that you're moving to, right? So I guess my first question is, why Cleveland, and how has the Northeast Ohio ecosystem kind of helped you guys to become what you are?
Yeah. We're all from this area. It's kind of funny because I don't think many of us thought that we would end up staying here, to be honest. Like Scott, he lived all around the world and, did his thing, but came back to Cleveland. I went to school in Columbus, but I never really thought I'd come back home and start anything. But, when you start looking at, what we're passionate about and what Cleveland is known for, it's manufacturing, and it pairs really well with what we're doing. Cleveland's a manufacturing town. There's so much infrastructure and little companies hidden all over the place that do really great work. But Scott had his gas motorcycle business. The supply chain was overseas. So when we started, we started working, on land stuff in the district. Reshoring and really tapping into those manufacturing routes was a huge focus. And it's, it hasn't been as easy, I think, as we thought, because it's really hard to find the people. They're here for sure. A lot of it's aerospace, which is kind of out of our price range, but it's a manufacturing town, and there's a lot of knowledge here. There's a lot of processes here that we're going to be able to lean into. And I think as Cleveland's growing, and I personally feel like it's kind of going through the shift of kind of becoming a new version of itself. I think part of it is reimagining its manufacturing, and whether that's like tapping into industry 4.0 or doing things differently and being willing to work with companies like us. I feel like it's happening. It definitely looks like it's happening. And getting that brownfield grant and actually having the city and all the people who helped us get that, the support locally, is it's been pretty incredible.
So I'm assuming grants like these don't just land on your doorstep. I mean, how much external help did you have making this thing happen?
So like Manufacturing Works, Jobs Ohio. We're working with Loomis, so they're helping us develop it. So coming from all angles, this person has experience here, we don't have that. It's, like it's been really, really humbling to see how people are coming to us to help us. And it's mostly manufacturing based, which is, Cleveland.
Right on.
So
That's
Very cool. So prototyping the kind of the, I'm going to call it an assembly line, but I don't know if that's what it's actually going to be. That's just
Yeah.
what I know from, because I grew up in Monroe, Michigan, Detroit, same type of,
Mhm.
vehicle manufacturing goes way back. What are some of the ideas and things that you're playing around with? What do you want to learn in this space that you have right now to be able to take into the new space?
So a couple of things. So really it's I guess management of parts and how we do our parts. So instead of putting everything together at once, we do things in stages. So we'll have like only six sub-assemblies that actually go into building a bike. So you're popping on these big sub-assemblies that are big chunks of the bike. A lot of it right now too is understanding just times to do things and how that correlates to an assembly line. So we were working with Magnet locally, and they helped us understand some of our time constraints and how that's going to actually feed into an assembly line process. And 14,000 square feet sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. If you think about how big a bike is and then how much space you're going to need to store it and all the things. But it was great to work with them and understand how you could creatively create an assembly line. So we're actually going to do it's more of a U shape. So everything feeds from the center out, which is something none of us thought about, because we'll take like breaks from whatever we're doing, go stand next door and start to try to visualize it. But we don't have any of that expertise. So we're playing with it's more conceptual models, and then more hands-on stuff too. So we're balancing it. Stuff that's go ahead.
Did you ever see the movie The Founder?
No.
It might be worth watching. So it's the one where Michael Keaton plays Ray Kroc, right? McDonald's, that whole story, how true it is or whatever.
Okay.
But there, and you can YouTube it and find there's a scene where he's going through and helping them redesign the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to a basketball court and they draw everything out in chalk and then have people just playing the roles of moving the things around. Like, you got a nice clean floor there, man. Break out some chalk and just like kind of work through the process. See who bumps into each other, right? Knocks over the. But yeah, that's an awesome, because a lot of times in those type of situations, you end up having to retrofit something that exists, and that is a design constraint that sometimes forces you to make less than ideal decisions. Yeah, you
guys have just kind of
green
a clean
field,
room.
man.
You guys can design it from the ground up, which is cool.
Also intimidating
and daunting. Yeah.
No, I think there's definitely more constraints than I think we were originally thinking. If we expect to get where we want to get to, right? I think we're in around a space where I am currently actually fairly quickly. So this will hopefully be up and running in 2 months, and then we'll have about a year and a half, 2 years here until we can move into the new space on the east side. So
right on.
But yeah, so I'm excited to learn as much here. So when we move, there's not too much that we haven't experienced, right?
Right.
Nice.
That's
cool.
awesome.
Cool. So we mentioned earlier that taking these bikes out and riding them, we're getting a lot of, hey, cool bike, nice bike. Seems to be fairly well received in the community of people who like electric vehicles, who like e-bikes, motorcycles. I mean, what's been that kind of like, what's the community like right now around this product?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think it's not what we expected, which is very cool. We call it Moto curious. So there's a lot of Moto curious people, even though they never thought they were, right? It's partially how we designed the bike. So it's attractive to not just, me or Eric, but, people like you, Mike, and even like so like a story, we were down in Miami visiting a distributor, and we're taking pictures at sunset on this very beautiful part of the path. And this older woman came up to us. She was like 65 and was like about to go for a test ride. She's like, I've never even ridden a moped before. But I want to get on this and ride it. Like, and she sat and talked to me for like 30 minutes, just, and like never even had like a little bit of interest in anything like that until that moment. And, I think that's what makes what we're doing special. We did a very good job at creating, I guess, creating a visual, because that's kind of what people get drawn to, right? That's you can be comfortable with approaching. It's not intimidating, but everyone can identify with it in their own way. On the flip side of that, being able to use the bike outside of being a motorcycle is also something that works, I think, even better than what we were thinking. I like to give the example, like when you wake up and you're a little groggy and it takes a little time to get all your brain cells firing correctly. I'll get a coffee and I'll put it in e-bike mode, and I'll ride the
Nice.
e-bike path to work with a coffee in my hand. And I've had mothers pushing their children in strollers, like smile and like tell me good morning, and I'm on a motorcycle on a bike path with a coffee in my hand. And it's just like I always try to make a point to reflect on it, because it's the coolest thing. And from the opposite side of the spectrum, I have a gas bike and it's a little louder than it probably should be. So in the same neighborhood, riding a vehicle that does the same things but it's gas, I get flicked off. And like it's like,
Yeah.
but it's but that's the beauty of electric, and the beauty of our bike is it completely disarms people. As long as you're respectful, everyone's very welcoming to it, and it's been important.
And it looks amazing, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. I know you were instrumental in how this thing looks, and dude, it just looks kick ass. Like, it's got that little bit of nostalgia feel, but also the futurist. Like, it's just a rock solid. It's it's a timeless design. It's a timeless design.
And the attention to detail is great. The other thing, Evan, to follow up kind of on where you were with how it's received, there's a few manufacturers, right, that do electric motorcycles, right? And one thing that people are always saying was like range anxiety or this or that, right? So I rode my Harley up. I use that it's a touring motorcycle, right? If I'm going to go ride 500-600 miles or go across, I could, take it across the continent. It's great. Yeah. That's what it's for. Your bike fits this niche that nobody else is hitting, right? And with its intended purpose, there's no range anxiety. It's easy to charge. It's accessible. I mean, it just hits this niche where, it's great. It is doing exactly what it's designed to be. And, you're not going to take it across country, but that's not what it's for, right? Which is really cool. Yeah. And it's just well-defined and super easy to understand, right? Yep. So that's one of the things I really liked about it. It's easy for, not only is it good looking, but you can explain the thing in about 30 seconds and everybody gets it.
Yeah. So how do I get one? That's the real question. How do I or somebody else actually get one?
Because whether you know it or not out there, you want one of these things. I mean, you want one.
Yep. So you could purchase one from our website right now. Right now we have over 100 pre-orders. Well, I guess reservations is a better word for it. That's a deposit or whatever it is. But how we do it internally, we're doing these production runs where we'll call our customers and say, hey, we're doing this production run. We have this many spots available. It's kind of we'll go by how in the order of the orders that we got, but we also do it by, are you willing to pay for it right now so we could actually ship you a vehicle, right? Because part of what we want is our bikes to get out there. So it's like, whoever's kind of willing to make the payment or, have whatever that financial is to get a bike is valuable to us. But So right now we have over 100 people that are waiting, but we'll have another production run coming up very soon that will be reaching out to customers and, you know, seeing where that falls. So if you did order one, it's probably going to be beyond summer at this point. It's looking
Right
like.
on.
So it's there's still but there's still opportunity. It's not set in stone, but you know, we have a lot to make and get out there.
Well, I'm kind of curious. So like this idea of production runs, like, is that how you're going to kind of incrementally kind of learn and grow as part of the process? Like do a production run and then take some time to iterate a little bit, and nice.
Yep.
Very
so
nice.
like the part of that I guess that that progression was, you know, we started with one prototype. Okay, you know, got interest. And then when we were ready, we did 7 prototypes. So a lot of, you know, it's kind of like next step, but not too much to bite off of, where if we made some mistakes, they weren't as drastic.
Before you send an email to 1 million people, send it to 10 first.
Right.
Exactly. So, you know, learned an incredible amount during the prototype run. And then we moved into the pilot manufacturing. We did 20 bikes. So
Nice.
you know, and then now we're looking at doing much more than that. We're a little capital constrained now, so it's going to kind of dictate where we're going with the next run. But you know, we want to start sustaining around 100 bike orders. So, you know, ordering 100 bikes worth of parts.
Oh, right on.
For the next couple of years, but yeah, it's been a great progression, because I think we learn more than we think that we're going to every time.
For sure, for sure. All right. So seriously though, if I were to come to your facility right now, what would I have to give you to take one of the bikes home? Is that, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that offline.
How much does it say on our website? I think it's...
No, I mean, I want to take it home. I don't want to wait. I want to get to how do I get to the front of the line? Is there a front of the line?
Maybe we can figure something out.
Yeah. We'll talk offline. Cool. I mean, Evan, it's been great talking to you. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to cover here?
No, I think we covered everything. You know, I'm excited for you guys to come back and see how much progress we've made since even such a short little time.
Yeah.
Ward, anything else you want to know about here?
No, this is great. I'm looking forward to coming back up as well. And seriously, if you know anybody out there, if you have even a remote inkling of wanting one of these, once you get on it, you're gonna want to sign up to buy one. They're a blast. They're amazingly practical and fun at the same time, which is a really cool mix. So, you know, Evan, thanks for the time. I could talk about motorcycles all day. So
yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's great time, man. My neighbor just came across the street and I've got to run. So awesome. Thank you both for your time today, and we will talk again soon.
All right. See you guys later.
All right.